The enduring popularity of Skyrim is always going to be gaming's greatest mystery to me. I just don't understand what this game had to offer. I just don't get it. Let's start with the combat. It's awful. The first time I tried to play Skyrim, I, tr- I tried to play Mage. You can only equip one spell at a time, and on controller, you literally just have to pause the game to swap spells. I decided to fuck that and then decided to be a hulking idiot with two-handed weapons. The combat devolved into dancing around someone trying to time being next to them in the middle of a swing. I think there's only one attack button, or two, I don't remember. It has been a long time, but I do remember that there's literally zero depth in the combat whatsoever. If you try to play in third person mode, the combat literally looks like you're just strafing around like an idiot, swinging a weapon like a Minecraft Steve. Remember all the memes about how no matter what the people's intentions were during character creation, they will always end up playing the stealth archer? Yeah, that's because the combat isn't fucking fun. This is the most popular way to play the game, is to just kill an enemy before they even aggro at you. In other words, the most popular way to play the game is to avoid the combat entirely. Well, the combat sucks. So you may think that the people play it for excellent writing or storytelling, right? Ah, I sure hope not. You can probably count on one hand the number of truly interesting questlines that are in the game, and even those, the writing is just acceptable, not even good. I don't play Skyrim through to the end, but I played the game for about 40 hours, and in that time, I didn't meet a single character that I ever cared about. I don't give a fuck about any of them. Skyrim came out at the same year as Witcher 2, which not only had a better combat, but also the writing it's like 300 times better, authored content, and an interesting story. In my eyes, Skyrim is just a terrible test game, and Witcher 2 is better game in almost every aspect. Yet it sold only 2 millions compared to Skyrim's 30 million. Lol. How? The last sinner is the copy-pasted content. Why make a small, interesting world full of interesting content when you can make a big map full of boring, repetitive bullshit? As I mentioned earlier, there may be handful of interesting quests they put an effort into. Go here, go there, kill a Draugr cave. I feel like Skyrim made a promise of this grand adventure over many hilltops and many horizons, but it's all just a facade. There may be 10 to 20 of interesting content at most. Then there's just tons of mindless, uninteresting fillers. I think Ubisoft looked at Skyrim and then think, holy shit, we can put little effort into our game and people that then eat the shit up. Then they released Far Cry 3 the next year. And they're totally right. Why spend effort making good game when you can make it the just most mediocre millicate game that is large? The side quest in this game boils down to go there and kill this or go there and get me that. Hundreds of fetch quests, almost no incentive for you to do so. Basically, big chunk of the side quest, even the main quest, are boring fetch quests. The exploration is not rewarding at all. When you explore, you can find cave dwellers, ruins, but they are all copy pasted one another. In the first 5 hours, you have basically seen everything that this game has to offer. Their layout is stupid. They all filled with boring puzzles a 9-year-old can solve, and filled with same enemies and useless loot that you can find at your local merchant. I have never seen the characters that boring in a game that has so many large number of characters in it. As much as characters they have in this game, none of them have any personality. They all feel like a cardboard cutout. With how easy to break the game, it doesn't help at all. The AI, my god, the AI in this game is the most broken AI I have ever seen. The characters just keep walking at walls for hours. If you just crouch, you can literally become invisible, even if the enemy just staring at you. The combat is clunky, spammy, hitboxes are weird, the block detection is off and becomes boring really fast. When you become strong, you literally become God, which sucked out any enjoyment I had of this combat. The writing is abysmal. There's no way I can put into words how bad the writing is. The dragons are the most disappointing thing about this game. This is the only game that made dragons boring. That is a high achievement. I have to give it to them. I had never seen a game that had me feel bored on fighting a dragon. When I heard I could fight dragons, I expected a real dragon, not a fire breathing ostrich that dies in 2 hits. And the final boss literally does in the same as any other dragon fights, as which is especially disappointing. The RPG elements most of the time, the only choice you have is yes and no, and the skill trees is almost useless. There is almost no consequences of your actions, which makes your choice feels like they do not matter at all. The civilians, the flying drones that are called civilians, all look same in different places. How is that immersive? They're literally same people with different names most of the time, which takes away the feeling that the world is huge and makes you realize just how empty this world is. The loot progression is weird. When I find a weapon in the cave that is filled with enemies, then 2 hours later I find this shopkeeper have a stronger weapon. How is that immersive? Literally, all the good loot you can find in this game, you can just buy it. So what's the point of exploring the map if nothing I find in the map is remotely worthwhile? And there are the game breaking glitches. I had to restart my saves because the game decided to auto save when I stuck around to the ground after 5 hours of playtime. Another time I got stuck in a door and I couldn't continue the main quest. I had to go through it all over again. Let me make this abundantly clear. I don't think Skyrim is complete shit. I just don't think it is great. It is painfully mediocre. Combat is terrible. Everyone plays stealth archers so that they can avoid combat, or they install mod to try and fix it. The writing is boring. The quests are largely uninteresting. Most of the games is bunch of copy pasted filler content. And I don't even mention this, but it is also buggy. I don't mention it because that's honestly the least of its problems. Everyone mods the shit out of this game to try and make it better, but it's so pointless because there are other games that are already released good. You don't need to mod them to make it you don't need to mod them to make them good. That's all I'm gonna say about Skyrim. I think it's the most overrated game I've ever played in my entire life, and I just can't see how Bethesda got so famous after releasing this game. how they got so much popularity and how Skyrim is retaining so much of its player base. When I look at the Steam, I see so many people still playing Skyrim to this day. I just can't see what they see in this game. I don't know. I just don't get it. It is the most boring, mediocre game I've ever played in my entire life. And I I won't be playing this game anytime ever again. I don't want to suffer through this terrible game again. Thank you all.